Alright, well, chuck on the game. Music. And there's no one really around to play just yet. I might go do some quests and have a bit of a talk about the direction PvE's going in this game. Or really, the trajectory it was ever set on from the get-go. But it's the sort of cycle that needs to be broken, I think. Again, it's, yeah, more Celeste. Pre-Celeste. Rather than a Celeste exclusive problem. I can adjust this brace so it's not fucking rubbing against the chair, making a farting sound. Hope the mic doesn't pick that up, but I think it does. I don't have IBS, it's just the back brace rubbing on the chair. So yeah, I mean, Barroom Lotto is a good idea, but I don't think the gear aspect needs to be there. I think these, and like Taz is actually sort of the one that showed me the light on this. These probably more items you'd want to see actually locked behind a revival of the Alliance system. Even if we don't necessarily have any new quests, just make it so players can pick an Alliance. Maybe you get a bonus, maybe not, whatever. And do I even have any of the Alliances accessed on this Civ? I don't know. Doesn't look like it. Where are they? Oh yeah. So you've got all the same sets of quests for every alliance, and you know, fair enough, keep it so the players can fucking just lock into one. But still do the quests of all three. But, you know, the items out of here probably should be some sort of like alliance bonus. Keep the gold jackpot, even maybe have a mini jackpot instead, or even have just 2 split gold jackpots. This is a nice little coin sink, but you know, what AoEO really needs, I think, is some form of semi-endless or endless progression like, you know, Diablo 3 or Guild Wars 2 or Elder Scrolls Online have in terms of leveling. So, you know, you hit level 40 on a Civ, and then all of a sudden, rather than getting regular XP, you get XP that goes into a pool across all your Civs. That, you know, every X amount of levels you get a small bonus. You know, you can alternate between different combat and eco stats and whatever have you. And you can even have some occasionally just give you like just flat out coin or item drop rewards as well. So I think that'd be cool because people are just still able to, you know, go to a random quest. Like, you know, it'd be worth me going to do assist post. Like, those rewards are shit. But assuming it only takes, you know, 11 minutes to do normal mode Unite the Tribes, not even that probably. If you were going to get XP off that, well, fucking people will be in co-op all the time for all sorts of quests that are inconsequential for them on everything other than the XP. People would be co-oping with lower levels, carrying them through shit, and then those lower levels would be doing the same, you know? There's not this pressure to fucking go and do Zabol, you know, Rakotis, City of Rome content, and only that content, and only the easiest of that content because the top content is too fucking hard for you. So, you know, even Heavy Rain, Geese, you know, Donar, myself, you know, better players than me and Donar, for instance, you know, have all come out to say, oh, I don't like doing Clusium, and I don't like doing VOC because it's just too hard. I mean, the rewards are good, but I found other 3 and 4 star shit that's way easier to solo or co-op. So, you know, I think that'd really draw PvEers into playing the game and sticking by it, even dabbling in PvP just to get a bit of extra XP as well, shit like that. And then with, you know, getting into gearing, like, you know, we've gone over and over about how we're not going to have any form of gear power creep in Celeste ever since the, what was that first set of gear released in 2017 that, you know, the future devs, well, the PF2K's come out to say, oh, that was sort of a mistake at the time, you know, and if I was dev at the time, I wouldn't have allowed it to happen. You know, ever since then, it's all been no power creep, but now we've got power crept items, but they're locked behind, effectively, a 10 million coin investment. Doesn't mean they're actually you know, locked out so people can't get them in every single slot, but it's just, you know, a 20-year fucking grind. But what if, you know, we had more of an endless progression system that was a lot more scalable, like, you know, something like the bonus stat roll on potential drops in like WoW, or the ancient legendary system of Diablo 3, although I much prefer the first out of those two. So, you know, say Heavy Spear of Gilgamesh, damage and crit chance. What if that could also potentially 1 in 10 chance, 1 in 5, 1 in 15? Doesn't matter as long as it's fucking reasonable and under 1 in 100, right? What if this could drop with plus health as a third stat, or health regen, or crit chance, or attack speed? You know, especially those newer stats like attack speed, life regen. What was the other one? Oh, ignore armor, which is basically armor penetration. Those three stats in particular are really locked behind event content, because they are stats that Celeste has basically added. They were always possible to be added, but the OG devs didn't give a fuck about it because they had no idea what they were doing. So why not have a system like that? So every piece in the game can potentially roll with one more useful stat. And then on top of that, looking at, say, assuming this is a Master Assassin's Gauntlet rather than a Ramses, you know, difference between that and the Ice King's Gauntlet, it's basically movement speed for damage, right? What if, you know, that could potentially roll with movement speed and this could potentially roll with damage? All of a sudden, both of those pieces become viable over a lot more units. Like, ultimately, you probably want Ice King Greaves on all your melee and Master Assassin Gauntlets on all your range, for instance, you know? But then you could also make it so that the bonus stat roll, you'd be looking for something with more damage on your range units, and on your melee, you'd be looking for something with even more survivability, or, you know, definitely trying to get movement speed on there so that they can close gaps and kill shit faster. So, you know, I don't really mean to rag on the Celeste devs as such as, oh, Byram's Lottery is just a complete failure. I think the intentions are good. Having another coin sink in the game is rarely a bad thing. Having a way for players to think they can get rich quick with a small investment, also not a bad thing, because every now and then one of them will get lucky. It's not always necessarily the whales winning it, especially when there is a capacity to how many tokens you want to going to spend. So, say we take the items out of this and we just have a jackpot and a second jackpot. You know, what if your first 1,500 tokens gave you 2 entrances into the draw, and then all of them beyond that only gave you 1, or, you know, have it 3 or 4 to 1, to again make it really worthwhile for the players that aren't able to spend up to 1.5 million coins a week on the lotto. Because, you know, for those of you that don't know, the lotto, 50% of the coin that goes into it is basically deleted from the game. The other 50% is the jackpot value. The gear was sort of just another way to get people to invest in it more heavily early on, and potentially go over 1,500 coins. I mean, 1,500 tickets and tokens. But yeah, you could do something like that with it, I think. But yeah, I definitely think we need to have a bit of a think about where the game's going in the wider scope of it, because, you know, the game nowadays has so much more content than it used to. Like, we've got 5 or 6 times the amount of legendaries and more than double of the amount of elite and repeatable content that we used to be able to do, yet the game still lives in obscurity relative to a lot of other strategy games, but most importantly, a lot of other MMOs and RPG games, which, if you're playing PvE, truth be told, the game probably takes more of an emphasis on the MMORPG side of things than it does, you know, RTS. Like, if you're in the game to play RTS and be as good an RTS player as you are, you're probably playing PvP. You know, I'm not trying to start a war between PvEers and PvPers, because I'm someone that's both. You know, it's just a simple fact of life. So, I've actually got a post up on the forums where I don't really talk about the Byram's Lottery side of things. And funnily enough, I want to give big shout outs to Taz for actually really going over with me on this and sort of, you know, getting rid of the grey areas for me and getting me to sort of realise what I've come to realise about the state of the game. And I do want to apologise to some of the people who I was pretty anti their opinion when the lotto was coming in, because I thought it would be this great Hail Mary that'd actually get a lot of those players to really double down on their investment into the game, and it's drawn them away, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, guys, there is a forum post. I'll have it in a link in a description, because I will put this in a video. But I think we need to sort of go back to the drawing board with Byram's Lottery a little bit. Don't have to get rid of it, just probably have to change how this works. And that could be a good segue into reviving the importance of the old alliances, because Taz, again, was sort of the one that really drew this to my attention. Sort of the reason alliances haven't been reworked is because there hasn't been a point with the state of the game or how the Celeste devs have intended it to be. So, you know, back in the day, these shitty quests, where are they? I call them shitty because they're all repeatable, so not actually like legendary. All of them you can do as any of the 3 alliances these days. Originally you could only do them as 1, but they're all the same quests. But you also got a little mini bonus out of it, which has sort of been offset by the fact that the gear ceiling has been slightly raised and people have access to more civs, so they've got more access to more milestone bonuses. And the advisor system's been not redesigned, but a lot of the shit advisors have been made better. And overall, the power of builds on pretty much every civ except for Egyptian has skyrocketed, just because we've gone from having completely shit unworkable advisors for most civs to having really solid global ones and really solid civ specific ones. So, you know, so far we've sort of broken the trend of no power creep if it's good for game design. So I sort of want to double down on that and bring in, you know, endless leveling, and bring in further gear progression beyond just your bloody uncommon, rare, epic, legendary. You know, give it so every epic and every legendary in the game can potentially roll with a bonus random stat. We can sort of have a bit of a back and forth across the community over which stats that is, but you know, I think it'd be really, really good for simultaneously slightly lifting the gear ceiling to help out the lower end of the player base in terms of like skill and confidence, but also, you know, give hardcore players something to grind for, and, you know, also not make all this old gear redundant. If anything, it means pieces that are slightly worse, like, you know, think of cloth armor and how many of them basically get skipped over in favor of movement speed cloth armor for villagers. So, I mean, not villagers, sorry, caravans. Where are they? I'm going to my caravans. Is this the right civ to show you? Why are they under utility? So, look, it's a level 10 item, but this is arguably best in slot for a level 40 civ that is an otherwise near complete epic and legendary. So, why? Purely because it's got higher movement speed roll on it than any other chest. But what if, you know, Athena's Blessed Tunic, which should arguably be the best in slot cloth armor for everything other than ranged units. And, you know, even priests, because they don't deal damage, that's probably best in slot. But what if it could also roll with potentially, you know, the movement speed on it? Or, you know, a slight conversion bonus, or, you know, something like that. Movement speed on that would actually be very good for a lot of those ranged units, because it actually gives them a bit more mobility. Or you could even have it roll with damage stats, which again would also be good for like a hybrid piece for ranged units that you're going to have also tanking damage. So yeah, guys, I really think it'd be worth sort of investigating all these things. I don't mean to sort of ruffle anyone's feathers in the community or in the dev team. Possibly in the original dev team, like, we've sort of been on a bit of a road to nowhere ever since, with the way PvE progression's gone in the game. And, you know, obviously Celeste is only a small dev team that volunteers. It's not like, you know, Blizzard or Bethesda, who've got millions to throw at research and development, to sit around a room, smoking pot, figuring out what the best idea is. So I think this is the way to go, and I'd be interested to see what everyone's thoughts are.